What's up? What's up? GST50, JP in the house. I want to talk about white supremacy. And this, of course, is based on my personal opinion, based on the way I grew up. Okay? So, I watched some shows that talk about white supremacy, and they pretty much tend to talk about the same things. And one thing, though, that really gets me is when they say how the white supremacy got our kids running around in the hood saying that it's stupid to be smart. And they look down on it. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, now I can understand if they put it on TV and they say, okay, all black people, all black kids, it's cool to be dumb. But if you're a parent or if you're an adult and you know it's not cool to be dumb, then why can't you counter it? Now, I have a problem with my son. He comes home and he doesn't study, go out with his friends, because no one, he comes home and put his bags down and run out, he doesn't listen to the babysitter. So I come home and I have to get in this case. And I pop him upside the head and stuff like that. But of course, that's not going to work because then I feel sorry for what I did. But I don't hit him hard, just like a little, try to scare him, right? But that scaring stuff don't work because he's getting bigger. So I said, okay, fine. I have to do it the hard way, which isn't hard for him, but hard for me because sometimes, parents can be lazy. So I sit down and I said, okay, what's wrong? Well, I got to do this math. And I don't understand. I forgot. I said, okay. So we do it together. And we do it together. And kept doing it. Kept having to do it until he finally understood. And then I also show him how to correct it. And then I said, okay, so what's next? Got his kanji. So I said, fine. So he does his kanji, but he writes terrible. And so I get angry. Inside, I don't show it to him. And I ask him, why can't you write better? And then I got to thinking, well, maybe he doesn't know what writing better looks like. So I wrote some kanji. Neat, of course, slow and neat, because it's not part of my natural writing habits. And then I put mine next to his. And I showed him. And I said, okay, which is better? He said, his is better. He can read it. And I said, well, which looks neater? And he said, mine look neater. And then I said, well, can you read it? He said, yeah, but it's small. I said, it doesn't matter. It's small. Just, can you read it or not? He said, yes. I said, okay, now I want you to write like this. So, of course, he got angry. Then I asked him, why are you angry? He says he doesn't want to write it. Then I asked him, why don't you want to write it? Because he says, kanji's too difficult. And I said, but it's right there. It's not like you got to do it from memory. It's right there. Just write it. What's wrong with writing? Well, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, well, you're just wasting time because you can't do anything else until you do it. And a few minutes went by, and he's still talking. I'm saying, well, 15 minutes that went by, and if you would have did it, which only takes about a couple of seconds to do, we've been all finished. And I could be doing something else more important than sitting here trying to convince you. So anyway, he did it. And then I said, okay, fine. I know what I'm going to do. I told him to write a story. And he was like, what kind of story? Any kind of story. Just write. And finally, he wrote a story, and I made him write it neat. Use kanji everywhere he can. He said he enjoyed it. He enjoyed writing. Can you believe that? So, as far as about being dumb, I think it's a world phenomenon. Now, I don't know if white supremacy is in Japan, which it probably is. I don't know if it's the same as it is in Japan, as it is in America. But I do know that in America, black kids can go to high school without taking a test to go to high school. But in Japan, Japanese kids are not allowed to go to high school unless they pass a test. Okay. So I read about a lot of this white supremacy stuff. And you know what it is? We always have people saying that white supremacy, it's affecting some of us and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. Well, if white supremacy is affecting us, then I think it's affecting us adults too, because we are some stupid people. If we can't even get a message out to our own kids. Well, I got a child, and I can't get him to study. Well, let's think about it. Well, is it the teacher's fault? It could be, because they're not teaching them right, but they only have so many minutes to teach a subject, right? Let's see. Is it the police officer's fault? It could be, because they could be harassing the kids on the to and from school. Could be the drug dealer's fault, but most drug dealers usually tell kids to go to school and study. It could be the homeless or the winos. We used to call them winos in the States, but they always used to tell us to study so we don't end up like them. So I'm thinking, well, whose fault is it? Well, let's say if it's the kid's fault for not studying. Okay, and it could be. But do you ever stop to think that sometimes people don't know how to study? And I said this in one of my books, one of my videos a long time ago. I had a friend who was doing, what is it called? Equations, mixed number equations or something like that. Something like 2x plus 3 divided by x plus 3 or 5 plus something, it was fraction, all this stuff. He couldn't do it. Now, this is a military person. He's an adult, but he couldn't figure it out. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, let me help you. So after a few weeks, not weeks, but, a few weeks maybe, begging him to help me, to let me help him study, I just happened to walk in his dorm room, and he was doing some math. So I walked right over there, grabbed the paper, and said, what in the hell is this? And he's like, my math. And I said, no wonder you can't get the right problem. He's like, what do you mean? I said, because you don't even write the whole problem down. What is it? And I said, look, I gave him the paper and said, what's missing? Anyway, you got something plus something equal. Well, he got something plus something equals, that's right. But when he goes to the other side, he only used one of the problems, like, A, B equals 299. He only write A, but he didn't write the B. And I gave him the paper, and I said, what's missing? He's like, I don't know. I'm doing the problem. I said, look, when you do an equal, that means the left side must be identical to the right side. Are they both identical? And he looked at it again. He was like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Think about it. This whole time he was doing that. Incredible. Is that white supremacy? I don't know. I look at it like this. Like, they show all these movies from the old days and stuff. But, I look at it like this. We want to see first of all, I know people are getting paid. I heard that one guy, some black guy, he used to play in those movies and be on the ground mopping and, have his little part where he's doing something funny or whatever. But I heard he made millions, or at least $1 million. And so they're making money. So, but it is affecting us. But then if he's a comedian, why not, But, I don't know. So the white supremacy of today is based on what? Making black people feel dumb. But our grandparents did say, you're not ugly. You're ugly is an action. But you know what I think it is? I think it's just white supremacy was something that is made to make them feel better. And not necessarily, and of course it's supposed to make us feel bad, but I think it's more or less to make them feel better. And if we are responsible, let's say you go to the store and you're hungry. You go to the store and you steal some food. You go to jail for 5, 10 years, whatever. But if you're smart, which of course somebody got to teach you to be smart, or even have common sense, because I didn't have that when I was young. You go buy some seeds and grow your own food. Now, we did that when I was young. My mother showed us. We did it. Grew all kinds of stuff. It was good. Good. But it's white supremacy stuff, I can understand where they're coming from and everything. But why keep talking about it instead of talking about the solution? I mean, we all know that the kids in our neighborhoods are dumb from what they're saying, and they've been dumbed down. But does that, then if the kids are in the house dumb, then what are the parents doing? And of course you could say, well, it's only the homes are only with the mothers. But I was raised by one mom, and I wasn't dumb. And I tell you what, we live in the black neighborhoods, and I didn't get succumbed by this white racism, white racism stuff until maybe after I started hearing about it from other people saying what I'm supposed to be doing and what this and you get to hearing this stuff. And it's not so much for me. What it was I go into a job, don't get the job, and then I'll say, oh, because it was black. But then before I started hearing about this racism and stuff, it was probably because I didn't have the qualification. Because I would just go anywhere and just apply for a job and see what they give me, right? Because nobody actually didn't train me to actually go look for a job that I could do. I just went wherever, tried to find work because I needed money, but I wasn't going to steal. But anyway, that's how that went down. White supremacy is really bad, and it does depend on where you live at and things like that. But there are a lot of things that you can do. One thing is you can move. Another thing is you can change. How do you change? Well, start over. 1 + 1 = 2. It's common sense, But I can understand what they're talking about. But a lot of our problems we have in the hood, can't really blame it on white supremacy. Not if back in the days we had Black Wall Street that was doing better than white Wall Street in New York. We had our opportunities, but what happened? What happened? And then they got this thing where they saying, well, white people are mad because they think black people are going to rise and fight against them. But I mean, if we rose up and we had power, do you really think black people are just going to go out and just kill white people because of what white people did to their ancestor, which had it not been done, none of us would be here. So basically, we'd just be lashing out because we had an opportunity to go through this stuff, right? Okay, I don't know I'm talking nonsense, but still, there got to come a time where we just got to do our things, because, you keep talking about racism, white racism, but in my daily life, when I was in LA, I didn't really think about that stuff. And the only time I did think about it was when my friends talked about it, or when I come up on a situation and I say, okay, now what do I do? And then the first thing that pops in my mind is something that some black person told me about, some racism. And then I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't matter. But since it's there and you got these, fighting, well, which one? And for me, it always turned out to be not that. So, I'm getting tired. I'm getting sleepy, so I'm going to have to stop. But yeah, but I tell you, I haven't really read up on it a lot, but I think our problem is that we spend too much time worrying about racism instead of spending more time worrying about why we aren't bettering ourselves, and not even worrying about talking about it. We're not actually out there doing things to better ourselves. And yeah, that's what I think it is. Because we're always looking for a leader. But I think the biggest wool that's been pulled over our head is that we all don't need a solid leader. We are all leaders within ourselves, and we need to lead ourselves to better roads. And then as you lead yourself in studying and do better and understand more, then you'll automatically gravitate to people like-minded like you. But that's just my 2 cents on supremacy. And I was going to read about it, but I got to thinking, I listened to that stuff, and I think what does white racism have to do with a bunch of brothers hanging out in the corner, not getting a calculus book and figuring it out? What does that have to do with it? What does racism have to do with, a man in the house yelling at his wife for apparently no reason because he's all emotional? We've been taught to beat our wives. I'm like, okay, but who taught that man to beat his wife? Well, it's psychological. Okay, whatever, I'm out.